Alright, well, this is normally where I would say good morning, but I guess I forgot to record an intro to this video. Right here I am preparing to build these trailing arms. I've got the aluminum internal slugs that I'm running in the trailing arms. They're 70-75 aluminum, and the outer tube is 2.5 inch by 250 wall or quarter wall DOM tubing. I had to take the slugs over to my buddy Anthony's. He has a lathe that's big enough to actually turn them down. My lathe is not big enough to be able to turn between centers. Had to clean them up a little bit at Anthony's. I think we took like 20 thou off, and then here on my lathe I was just cleaning it up with a little bit of emery cloth because it didn't quite slide in there easy, but I did finally get it to fit in there good. And my idea was to go ahead and notch the tube for the uniball cup with the aluminum slug in it, and it worked out slick. So I was really happy with the way that turned out. It was an idea. Sometimes you don't know if it's going to work, but it worked out great. I used the old wax beeswax trick on the hole saw, and I was able to get it to cut through that aluminum without a problem. The aluminum tried to twist a little bit, but it still cut through no problem. So here I'm doing it. You can see you can only cut so far with that hole saw. Then you gotta notch the cut and break it off. And I'm gonna cut the rest of the way here. You can see the slug fell out and notch went through, no problem. Got to clean up my mess. Oh, taking the hole saw off. Now I'm cleaning up my mess, which is something I don't always do right away, but I decided I better do that because that aluminum went everywhere. Here I am preparing my tungstens. I've got this is a diamond impregnated grinding wheel, and that's what I've been using to sharpen my tungstens. So far I've found this to be the easiest and the fastest way to do it. Just a diamond impregnated wheel I bought on Amazon. I'll put a link to this down in the description. I've got those cheaper tungsten grinders, and I think I got one from Eastwood, but I prefer this way better. You can change the angle and do a blunter sharpen a blunter angle or a sharper angle, depending on what I'm doing. I find that the blunt angle works better for aluminum, but for steel, especially when I'm getting in tight corners, that sharper angle seems to work better with the new TIG welder. So I'm sharpening, I think, like 4, because I still have a problem every once in a while dipping my tungsten or getting too close. And so I'm getting everything prepped and ready to start TIG welding those uniball cups on. Alright, so I've got everything cleaned up. I think I chamfered or beveled all my edges, and I'm getting ready. It looks like I recorded some video here. If I did, I'll pop that in before this. But uniball cups, last time I welded these on, I learned the hard way that I needed these weld slugs to go in them to hold the shape, because everything gets distorted and heated, or distorted with the heat. These weld slugs are brass, and I got them from Tack. You can turn your own. You can make them out of aluminum or brass if you have it on hand, but I just found it was easier just to buy them. So here I am. Important thing with the weld slugs: coat them with anti-seize before you slide them in there. Apparently, it makes it a lot easier to get them out. I haven't tried to get them out yet, so I don't know, but in theory, it makes really good sense. You're gonna have a lot of heat cycles on these. So yeah, prep the tube. Got a good chamfer on them, and I am gonna do a root pass with 16 or 1/16 filler rod, and here I'm just laying things out and getting them tigged in or tacked in, making sure everything is straight, and my reveal or the uniball cup is centered on the tube. So here we go, still tacking things in, trying to figure out how to ground these the best I can and figuring out a good position. I ended up just leaving the ground clamp on the table, seemed to work just fine. So I'm going to root pass weld these in quarters. So I do a quarter of the weld on one side, flip it over, do a quarter of the weld on the opposite side, and just keep working my way around that cup weld. And I let those cool, or let that one cool. Did a 1/4 over here and 1/4 over there on the other trailing arm, and I think I let that cool and then swapped. And I just kept working my way back and forth between the two for this root pass. And then as soon as I get this root pass done, I'm going to go ahead and do a cap pass and fill up that little well that I created by chamfering the tube. So here I'm just going to go ahead, instead of letting it cool, I'm just going to go all the way around and just weld the thing out, I think. Yeah, so just I have everything tilted up, so I'm in a better position to get things, try to make, like at least halfway around the tube. Yeah, I think I found that this worked better to continue all the way around the tube. Yeah, that's what this is. So this is where I actually welded things, did the secondary cap pass and welded things out without letting it cool. I just went all the way around on that secondary cap pass. I'm really pleased to see that I'm actually feeding the rod with my rod hand. Well, not there, I didn't. Here I am, you can see my thumb moving. So trying to get better at being more consistent at feeding that rod without burning my fingers. The old gloves I have, they have on the index finger on my rod hand, there's a hole burned into it. So now I know when I'm not feeding the rod consistently, because that hand gets too close to the arc and that finger starts to really burn. So I think I'm gonna keep these gloves just to give me that discipline to keep feeding that rod consistently and staying away. See, you can see I just took my hand away because it was burning. It's kind of cool to watch this. You guys might not be entertained, but it's kind of cool to watch this to see how I'm doing things. So here I've got everything. The uniball cups are welded in. Now I'm fitting up this top spine section that's going over the top. I've got my weld spacers in there, and this time I used some shock shims to space them out a little bit more. Just trying to make sure everything's straight and perpendicular to the uniball cup. Trying to figure out how to fixture it in there and hold it in while I get some good tacks on it. Make sure my spacing is correct so I can put that 1.5 inch top piece on there. So here I'm going to go ahead and just tack some things in, and it will be tacking from this point. I've got some little spacers I put over the top for that top cap to keep that top cap level, not wanting to walk around or kind of be uneven. So I put those in there just to check my spacing. Yeah. Just Just a lot of back and forth, checking and rechecking. But I think I got that where I wanted it. So now I'm tacking the offside. Took the rod end out because that's going to get some heat down there pretty soon. Didn't want that to be in there. I've got this tacked in. The other one's cooling. Uniball's all welded in. The uniball cup's all welded in. Now I need to lay out these flat pieces that are going on the top and where my bend marks, where my bends are going, and then bend them. It's already about 4:30, so I'll probably pick this up tomorrow morning. Well, I will pick this up tomorrow morning and start getting all that tacked together and go from there. I went and got the vice grips, I think, to hold that upper spine piece and grind a little bit off. Now I'm laying out that top cap flat plate piece. There's going to be some bends in there, and I have it coped on one end to the long part is coped on one end to terminate down into the tube. And I'm looking at my angles and making sure I've got everything correct. And I went and took these over to the press brake and bent them off camera. Just test fitting that bend. Now I got to counter bend that end that's next to the shock mount and make sure it's terminating into the tube at the right spot. That's not quite bent enough, so bent it a little more, then I'll be back. Yeah. All right, we're back at it this morning. So last night, off camera, I bent up these pieces. These pieces are going on the top here, somewhat like that. Get that all in place. They'll go in there like that. I may have to do some more adjustments and bend these more. This one is going to go in here like so. Make up that top cap. I'm going to have to put a counter bend over here, and the plan is to terminate it probably right here, and then I'm thinking about taking another piece of 1/8 inch strap and coming all the way around the knuckle ball, or the not the knuckle ball, the uniball cup, and encapsulating it with a piece of strap just for insurance. So that's what I'm going to work on today. I am pretty low on gas, so I'm going to have to switch over to my backup bottle here pretty soon, and a welding gas, and so I'm probably only going to be able to get this one done before I need to go back and get my bottles refilled, so, which is fine. I don't really want to be in here all day welding on this. Not today anyway. It's a beautiful day outside, so anyway, here we go. All right, so I'm making some last minute adjustments. I've got this top piece in here. This looks great. I cut this back quite a bit, so it's running into this front edge of the uniball cup. I've got plenty of clearance here. The one thing I noticed is this bend and this ramp, or this bend in the plate, is a little too close to this shock mount location. I need this moved back, but I've already got this bend in here. So what I'm going to do, or what I did, was I just sliced about 3/4 of an inch off this plate, and I'm going to bring this back over to here a little more. So I've already got that sliced up. Now I just need to re-weld it, and after I get that re-weld, I'll put this one over here and start tacking all this together. All right, so now I've got these little, I don't know if I'm calling these little elevator pieces, just those little pieces that are just getting tacked in there to keep that top plate level throughout, so it's at the same level and not doing a kind of a wave in there. Getting everything tacked in, that top section tacked in. I've got the modified front top section ready to go, and I'm going to tack that in here. I've got to, after I get everything welded out, I'm going to have to remove those spacers and weld in that top piece where it terminates down into the tubing. That's going to be a little bit tricky getting the torch in there. I might end up MIG welding it just because you can get a MIG gun in there a little bit easier than torch and tungsten. So here, getting some filler rod prepped with some acetone, and I think first thing I'm going to do here is start welding up the that spine section to the tube, and I'm welding in about probably 6 to 7 inch lengths, maybe a little bit more, whatever the length is of that piece of square tubing I'm using as a steady rest. Yeah, so that's probably more like 8 inches. Feeding rod fairly consistently. Looks like my thumb is moving, my hand's moving back with it. These welds came out really good. I was really happy with these welds. I think because I wasn't fighting heat. The fact that that tubing is right there and also is slugged with that aluminum just worked as a huge heat sink. So I was able to move right along with the right amount of heat, and I wasn't getting things too hot. It's got the welds have a really nice color. All right, so everything's tacked in. I started welding out this bottom section, attaching the whole assembly to the tube, and it's working out really well. What I'm doing is I'm using this as a steady rest, and I'm welding along here as far as this piece will go, and then I'm stopping, then I'm flipping the thing over and welding the other side, going as far as this will go. So my sections are about, I don't know, 8 inches at a time, sections of weld. So that's working out really well. Trying not to put a whole bunch of heat in it all at once. So just kind of stopping, taking a break, taking my time, flipping it over, doing the other side. So it's working out really well. I should have this welded up in no time flat. I did consider MIG welding this, but I've been really wanting to work on my TIG welding technique. And it's so much cleaner to TIG weld, although it takes a lot more time. But I'm having fun, I'm enjoying it, and that's kind of what it's about, learning and enjoying it. So here we go. Okay, so from here there's just a bunch of welding to do. Just burning rod, lots of filler rod, lots of welding. Just kept on going, jumping back and forth each side of the tube. Wasn't really worried about letting things cool off too much. I just wanted to get her done. This the trailing arm itself, it ended up taking on quite a bit of heat by the time I was done fully welding it out. And it bowed a little bit, which I'm not really concerned with, just because this thing's going to be in the rocks. It's the lowest part on the chassis. It's basically a battering ram for rocks. The lower links always get hammered, so, and that's what this is going to be. So I'm just welding her out, putting the heat in, getting it done. Like here, this is the afternoon, so I let the entire trailing arm cool off. I think I went and took lunch and waited at least an hour, and then started welding these top pieces in. I tried using here because this weld could almost have been a fusion weld because it was so the fit up was so tight. I tried using and ended up using with pretty good success, I feel like, 045 filler rod here, because I just didn't need a ton of filler. I did struggle quite a bit getting my heat settings right here. I kept turning down the heat. This front top piece is 3/16, and then the entire rear top piece is 1/8. So it was soaking. I had problems with heat soak, even though I only welded like 6-7 inches at a time. I did have problems with heat soak, and I wasn't getting that, you know, that shiny, fancy rainbow color that you know, you kind of want when you're TIG welding. It was just getting that hazy gray color just because it was so hot. But I know the welds are good. I don't think anything's gonna fail. I'm definitely not worried about penetration here. But the 045 rod, I feel like was a good call here. It's a little bit harder to fill or to feed consistently, just because it's so small. But you don't need a ton of filler here when the fit up is so tight. So I think it's a good call. And so I welded out the entire top section this way, just jumping around side to side, back and forth, and kept turning around the trailing arm.
All right, well, I got this one pretty much welded up. The next thing I've got to do is add this to here, and I'll weld in these little areas here, weld over the top. This will be a fusion weld right here because it's flush, and then weld along the bottom here and call it good. Came out pretty good. I got a lot of practice and I'm happy with it. So anyway, thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.